Okay, for my first video, I know I kind of said this. I was talking to the fourth grade group about planning, and they were asking how I get through a lesson in a day. And I told them flat out that I don't. This is a curriculum that I use, Open Up. I know I've referenced it before. Um, Currently, they still only have sixth through eighth grade. They are coming out with a K through fifth. They're piloting this year and they'll have it next year. So I do recommend in a year from now you look into it, but unfortunately, you don't have it for K through five. But even if you're using Eureka, it doesn't really matter what curriculum you're using. I just kind of went over my thought process, even for um, the absolute value kind of weekly plan that I made with my students. So here is the lessons laid out for sixth grade. It's negative numbers and absolute value. For me, I was trying to think about, like, okay, absolute value, that was the next thing. We did some work with negative numbers, and then we moved on to absolute value. So I went into my lesson, and I am just going to download this student task. They have like a teacher handbook as well. So what I did is I really looked at this would be what we're doing in class. They usually have some sort of warm up. Again, you guys have like a sprint of some kind. They have maybe a task or two, like word problems. So there's like two different word problems, three, and then they have like an extension. They have a summary, and usually they'll have like practice problems on a separate PDF. So when I'm looking through this, I thought through, like, do I want to do a number talk? I didn't think a number talk was easy for me to do in distance learning in the beginning. That's something that I have a goal. So when I looked at this, I'm going to skip this. Like, I don't think this is a good use of my time. This number talk in particular could probably take me an entire session. So I skipped that completely. This was the task that I liked. There was a jumping flea task, and these were the prompts for the jumping flea. So for me, when I looked through that, and then I looked through their other story problems, and I didn't necessarily think that those were as much for my time that I could have a discussion with. So I went with this task, the jumping bug. And again, you can look through Eureka and find the one story problem that you really like. And so for me, when I looked through that, that was the one I liked. So that is the one that I made as, or I thought was the best for my students. So that is the one I turned into an actual task. So that was the one you guys did as well. Sorry, I'm trying to find that slide. So then I created that interactive number line. So for me, I look at which tasks I want to do with my students, and then I think, how can I make that virtual and engaging? So again, I used the online manipulatives. I created the number line. I copied all of the text. Like, I didn't come up with all of this. So I think a big thing is not necessarily fixing what's not broken. Like, if I liked this task or word problem, then I'm going to take it, and I changed it a little bit from a flea to like a grasshopper because I thought that was more visual for myself. And I went through there. So, and then the rest of this lesson I didn't use. I didn't use the 6.3. I didn't use the practice problems because I didn't see necessarily that I needed all that in distance learning. If I look at in this unit, I also noticed that lesson 6 is about absolute value, and lesson 7 is comparing numbers from 0, which is also just in opposites, which is or absolute value as well. So I looked through lesson 7 as well. And I looked at opposites, and I thought, okay, well, this one is a whole different conversation. So actually, after I did absolute value, I went back to opposite numbers and thought that was a whole separate day. So I skipped this one and thought, okay, the next week I'm just going to cover opposites. And I actually did this task similar the following week. I really liked this submarine task. So this is the submarine task that I gave you guys. I did change the names to students in my class. I thought about like all of this text, and I know Eureka is big on a lot of text, how less engaging that is. So that's when I created the submarine task that you guys saw. So that is when I created a Google drawing. I literally copied the text that they gave me, though. Like, I still use their wording and still use academic language that they had. And it's still rigorous. It's just a little bit more accessible doing it this way. So I just want to, and then I didn't do any of the rest of these, like all of the inequalities. I did that a whole nother week. So I think for me, just you guys looking through your curriculum, looking through your lessons, and finding what works for you and that you can apply to the tools that we gave you or that you already know, and really slowing it down and knowing that each day I'm just going to get through one task or one story problem. Alrighty, I hope that